Asta and Yuno, despite being brothers, have opposite powers. Yuno, an unending amount of magic power. Asta, the power to destroy all magic. Despite their dynamic powers, they work quite well together. The power of anti-magic and wind magic has been shown to amplify the other, in the case of Asta and Yuno teaming up against Zagred. Now, one of the most commented statements on my channel is asking, what if Asta and Yuno fused? And today, I'm going to finally make a video on the topic. This one is hard to answer. Now, before you get in the comments and talk about this as an impossibility and it will never happen, stop trying to ruin the fun, please. Before you go off on how it's an impossibility, well, while we have yet to see two people fuse in the series, we have seen multiple fusions in a way. That is Yuno fusing with Bell to create Spirit Dive, and Noct fusing with his multiple devils to create Devil Union, and then Asta and Libe and their own Devil Union. If fusion between two humanoid entities is possible in the series, and it's a fantasy world filled with magic, that makes it really not that crazy to theorize that these two could one day fuse. Now, I'm not saying that it is going to happen, or that it's even likely. It isn't. This video is just for fun, and not to be taken too seriously. So please, hope you guys can enjoy it, and I want you guys to comment down below. What do you think a fusion between Asta and Yuno, what do you think their name would be? And how strong do you think they would be? Would they be strong enough to take down Lucifero and the other high-ranking Qliphoth devils? Let me know your thoughts down below. Please comment. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. This is Broku. And thank you guys so much for all the support lately. You guys have been crushing it with everything, liking. I love the discussions in the comments. I got so many new subscribers and so many people saying that they finally subscribed. Thank you guys so much for all the support. We're going to shoot for 2,000 likes on this video because I really like the concept of fusion in series. And when I was a Dragon Ball creator, I had a lot of different fusion ideas, and that was one of the most popular types of comments on my videos was fusion. And what would this fusion be like? And what if these people fuse? So please shoot for 2,000 likes, subscribe, turn on notifications. You can also join my Discord, link down below, and follow me on Twitter, linked down below. With that being said, let's get into it. So an Asta and Yuno fusion, oh boy. When we had a Yuno and Bell fusion, we have an Asta and Libe fusion. So in a sense, this could be a double fusion. A fusion of two already fused beings. Man, this brings me so back to the Dragon Ball community. What if Gogeta and Vegito fused? What would their name be and how strong would they be? I got so many comments of that when I was a Dragon Ball YouTube creator, and it just brings me back. If a Potara fusion character fused with a fusion dance character, what would happen? Man, the good old days. Sometimes I kind of miss making Dragon Ball content. If you would like me to make more Dragon Ball content in the future, let me know down below. Anyways, back to Black Clover and the fusion of Asta and Yuno. Now, before I get into the hypotheticals and talk about like how strong they would be and how the powers would work between an Asta and Yuno fusion, I would like to bring in a reason for Asta and Yuno to fuse. As I don't think that if Asta and Yuno ever fused, it would be for no reason or be for fun. It would need to be an unbeatable villain in the way that threatened to destroy the Clover Kingdom, if not the entire world. Someone so strong that they far surpass the sum of Yuno and Asta's power. Thus, fusion would be needed to amplify their powers. Also, an even further combination of their powers, we know that Asta and Yuno can team up quite well together, and their powers can work off of each other despite essentially being opposites. We saw this when the two used teamwork to take down the high-ranking word devil Zagred. The divine powers of anti-magic and the divine spirit wind magic blended together really gave Zagred a run for his money multiple times. If the two were to fuse, it would likely amplify this supplementary power together and make them work off of each other to an even greater extent. And there is a reason where I think their powers would be needed to take down such a threat. A final villain that has both immeasurable magic power and physical power. I say this because the very presence of Asta's anti-magic was erasing magic in chapter 197, and the very presence of Yuno's mana was erasing the physical matter around him. This is how Yuno and Asta teamed up against Zagred. His word soul magic allowed him to create both powerful magical and physical objects. In the spell Storm of Blades, Zagred summoned a plethora of magic swords and physical swords. Yuno and Asta worked in tandem with each other, Yuno taking on the physical swords, and Asta taking on the magical swords. If there's a villain with a similar power to Zagred, where he can use both physical and magical powers, then a Yuno and Asta fusion would actually be a good plan. In fact, it might be that Lucifero would be that type of a villain, as when Dante uses Lucifero's gravity magic, it has both magical and physical abilities. While the gravity itself is magical, it actually warps space physically. This is what allows Dante to teleport, because in real life, gravity affects and warps space, but that would be physical, not magical. The gravity itself is magical, but what it does, what it affects, is physical. We know that Lucifero would have gravity power to a much higher degree than Dante, as it is his own innate magic type. So Dante will look like an ant in comparison to him. In real life physics, gravity can also affect even time itself. So maybe Lucifero will be the villain that brings this fusion about. Asta and Yuno fusion would allow for the ultimate counter against physical and magical attacks. Watch out, Lucifero. Now that I have gone over a reason for the fusion, let's talk about the possibilities. An actual possible way for this to happen is a magic item. We don't know of one that could do this, but there's a wide variety of items in the series. I really wish we got to see more of magic items. I feel like Tabata has almost kind of forgotten about them as a concept in the series. They were much more prevalent back in the beginning and the middle of the series, but they're not used nearly as much now. I wish there was a higher focus on them because they were really cool on how they implement them in the series. But with how many different crazy magic items we've seen, one that allows fusion would not be that crazy in Black Clover. Also, this is kind of a reach, but again, this whole video is just for fun, but one thing that could happen is that Yuno could still have access to his elven form or powers. One way I theorized this a while ago is that the magic stone that Yuno possesses allows for one to access what they yearn for in the underworld. This could be that if Yuno's elven soul went there, or the elven soul of Lick's son, he could draw back that power back from the underworld, because that's where souls go, and then he could use the elven power. If not, he may already have it. We did not actually physically see Yuno's elven soul leave. It might still be with him. And if that's the case, if Yuno can access elven powers, then that means he could possibly access dark elf powers. If he accessed dark elf powers, he would have access to demon magic, demon wind magic. And while this would be interesting, we have to remember that dark elves use demon wind or demon magic, and that would make a connection between demons and devils and Yuno. And then if they are connected, that makes it possible, though still not any sort of confirmation. Again, this theory video is for fun, of Asta and Yuno, who is now a dark elf using demon powers, doing a demon or devil union. We know that a double devil union has already taken place between Noct, and then we had him using two devils. So if Yuno was using demon or devil powers, and then Asta does a devil union with him, that makes it possible. Again, just trying to figure out ways this could happen. There are many more ways, but the more important thing is talking about what if this happened, not how this happened, because I'm not saying it's likely. A possible name for this fusion would be Yusta, or something like Asuno. There are many different possibilities for a name, and honestly, in my opinion, it's the least important thing to me when it comes to this video. I already know for a fact, one of the things that we commented down below is that this fusion would be impossible and pointless because Libe's anti-magic would just override and destroy Yuno's magic and mana. While this is a flaw in this conversation, it doesn't end the conversation. While anti-magic isn't magic or powered by mana, it is similar in a way, something like an opposite. We have seen people who use mana and magic, and they can use it on people without hurting them. For example, Mario Leona can use her restraining magic on people without hurting or burning them, even though it's fire and magic. If Mario Leona can control her fire magic not to hurt people, then I believe it is possible that Asta could use anti-magic to not destroy Yuno's wind, and when they're fusion. It could maybe work like dumping oil into water. They would be separate. Maybe the anti-magic and wind magic would flow around each other without destroying each other, and thus allowing for this to take place. This means a possible Asuno would have two different powers, both anti-magic and wind magic. Maybe it would be two halves. One side is wind, the other anti-magic. But one thing that I really like the idea of is actually mana and anti-magic fusing and creating a brand new power. This would be like anti-magic wind or wind anti-magic. Imagine a black wind that has the abilities and looks of the wind with the darkness and anti-magic flowing through it. Imagine an anti-magic spirit of Zephyr. That would look absolutely insane and be broken. In this presence of Yusta, all matter, whether that be magical or physical, would be disintegrated by the unending power of the fusion. With how strong current Black Guardian Asta is, taking on two Qliphoth devils at once, if you paired him with actual magic for once with the divine winds of Yuno, this fusion of brothers would likely create the strongest character in the series. I mean, just imagine here. Asta would likely have his physical strength amplified when combined with Yuno's, as fusion generally amplifies all powers of each user exponentially. Then pair Yuno's huge mana stores that can work to amplify Asta's physical traits far further. It is likely that this fusion could create a being that is dozens, hundreds, or even thousands of times stronger than just old regular Black Guardian Asta, who is already broken. I think this would be an interesting development because this is something that if it does happen, which again, I really don't think it is that likely, it would likely be used for something like the final villain. I thought for the longest time that after the final villain, the final arc will be Asta versus Yuno to decide the title of Wizard King. It would be entertaining to see the two fuse and then fight as one in this arc, and then in the very next arc, they finally fight each other. We've been waiting so long to get an Asta and Yuno fight, and that is going to be so epic when it happens. And I think it'd be really cool to see them actually become one, and then the next arc, they fight each other, finally, to decide the Wizard King. One thing that becomes quite possible if anti-magic and wind magic can also fuse, and we get a wind anti-magic hybrid, that is basically like Black Wind or Demon Wind, but it's anti-magic, uses a full-on anti-mana zone. Now people have theorized Asta using anti-mana zone for the longest time, and while I think it is possible that he will use something very similar in his own right, if wind magic and anti-magic combined, imagine this type of a mana zone. Imagine anti-magic wind hitting you from every direction. Imagine you're fighting off volleys of anti-magic wind, while the anti-mana zone is draining your mana, and then you have the Demon Dweller and Demon Slayer sword flying around you from every direction. Then, this Asuno character would be so goddamn broken that you just obliterate the power scaling and power cliffing of this series. So that's it for my video of what if Asta and Yuno fused. I think that this would be a very powerful fusion, and while, yes guys, it's wacky, anti-magic and mana combined, but guys, it's a fantasy series with magic, anything's possible. I mean, there's dream worlds, it's possible that this could happen, and I'm just doing it for fun, because I've seen this comment so many times on my videos, Asta Yuno fusion. With that being said, guys, let me know your thoughts on this video down below. Please leave a like, let's shoot for 2,000 likes. That'd be so much appreciated. Also, subscribe, turn notifications, and then join my Discord and follow me on Twitter, link down below. Hope you guys all have an amazing day. Plus...